Minshew taking a deep shot for Goddard. He's open. He's got it. And he's got a touchdown. Dallas Goddard, what a drive. A 36-yard score. And Minshew all fired up.
We're all fired up. What is going on, guys? Welcome to Eagles Postgame Live. The Eagles get the W today, 33-18, move to 6-7 on the season. Guys, if you're new to the channel, please be sure to smash that subscribe button. If you're watching us live, be sure to comment, react with us. We're talking about our top takeaways. We're going to grade Gardner Minshew. We're going to give team grades and player of the grades. Let's get started. I'm going to throw it over to my man, Shane. He is over there at @halfandhalf_TPL. What's good, Shane?
I begged the Eagles not to make me come on a post-game show and talk about a loss to the Jets. So shout out to the Eagles for undoing some of the bad they did last week. I don't have to sit on a 2-game losing streak to the New York teams going into the bye.
And it was interesting. I was getting ready for a shootout here in the second half, and Gannon locked it down right above me. My man Ty from the Pull the Pin podcast. What's good, Ty?
What's going on, guys? How are we doing? Got a W. I don't know if there's much to say. I think the Jets are really bad, but
we're probably going to lead off with that question after I introduce my man from Party on Broad. He is Rob Lange. Follow him on Twitter at Philly_Madness. What's good, Rob?
I just saw a stat that if the season ended this very second, right now, nothing changes. The Eagles are the last wild card spot in the NFC playoffs. So we all thought, right? Oh, my God. And Minnesota just lost as time expired.
All right. Is that Detroit's first win?
That's Detroit's first win. They threw a touchdown as time expired.
Goff finally wins a game without McShay.
So now the Eagles, okay, now if it ends, now they just popped up to the second wild card spot. This thing's going there. Now, listen, they did what they needed to do. It may not have been the prettiest the whole game, but they came out. They didn't turn the ball over. They played good football. So kudos to them. It's a nice win going into the bye week. Now they got to get healthy. I feel like everybody limp off the field today. So
let's jump right into the first question before we deep dive into Gardner Minshew. Was the Eagles win this good, or was the Jets this bad? I thought you looked at that first half. For me, the biggest takeaway was Gannon getting carved like a Thanksgiving turkey. It was brutal on the defensive end for the Philadelphia Eagles. On the offensive end, Gardner Minshew moved down the field again and again and again. It was clicking. The offensive line was strong. They were getting yards on the ground, setting up the pass. Minshew made major throws, big throws downfield, especially with Dallas Goddard, cementing him as a major target in this game. And then the second half came when the defense showed up a little bit more, but still, to me, it goes on the offensive side of the ball. I'll say the Eagles won this game more than the Jets, even though the Jets stink. They got awful stink. I was actually impressed with Zach Wilson until he threw that pick that clearly sailed on him there in that, I think, third quarter area. But for me, the Eagles won that game on the ground, time of possession. What about you, Shane? Did the Eagles win this game, or are the Jets that bad?
Yes. I mean, the Jets are a bottom 6 team in the NFL, but so are the Giants, and the Eagles lost to them last week. And so, the Jets aren't a good team. It was nice to see the Eagles come out and play well on offense. The defense really struggled early, but then Zach Wilson turned back into Zach Wilson. So, I mean, it's both. But, yeah, I'm happy with how the Eagles played. It's not just because the Jets are an atrocious football team.
What about you, Ty?
I agree with Shane on that. I mean, the Eagles came out and won a game today. They didn't have to beat much of a team, but they came out and won a game. You touched on it earlier, Chris. In the first half, the defense was really lackluster. I mean, they just seemed like they didn't want to play. It didn't look good. I was actually kind of excited out the gate. I saw Fletcher Cox make a stop on Tevin Coleman like right out the gate. And I was like, okay, all right. And then just Zach Wilson started to look like an actual number 2 pick instead of a Jets number 2 pick. And that was a little scary, but in the second half buckled down. The Eagles won the game today, but man, the Jets are bad.
Yeah. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to just echo what everybody's saying. The Jets are bad, but what was nice was, look, the first half kind of went back and forth there. The Eagles offense was moving the ball. But, I mean, the third quarter, the Jets, I think, only saw the field once, maybe twice. And that was because the Eagles took over the time of possession, and they realized that, their defense was going to get a stop or two because of who the Jets were. And if they could control the time of possession, would I like to see them put in the end zone one of those drives the second half? Sure. But when like the first drive of the half goes for almost 10 minutes and you still get 3 points and you still go from 24-18 to 27-18, you felt the whole mood of the game switched. You didn't think the Jets had it in them to keep, pace with the Eagles at that point. So the Eagles absolutely won this game. But as everyone said, the Jets are absolutely that bad.
Yeah, the Eagles held onto the ball for 13 and a half minutes in the third quarter. Just an unbelievable performance there in that third quarter. And just to kind of be devil's advocate, the Jets also had that horrible encroachment call on fourth down that gave the Eagles life there, that reminded me of like Eagles of, Christmas past, when we've seen that bite them in the ass during previous years. But let's go into Gardner Minshew, first game starting with the Philadelphia Eagles, 242 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns. I think that was on the first 2 possessions, 20 of 25, and 133.7 quarterback rating here. I thought Minshew did great just managing the game, not putting this defense in bad spots. I can't really ask anything more than that, especially, in his first game starting here. The play that sticks out to me, though, was that third down ball he had to, I forget who it was. I think it was a dime to Quez Watkins on a third down crossing route. It was like 28 yards. And when was the last time you saw an Eagles quarterback roll left and throw a dime like that to an Eagles receiver? It was a thing of beauty. So I was very impressed by Minshew. Let's start at the top. Rob, you're up. What's your overall impressions on Gardner Minshew today?
Well, I think you saw the good of Gardner Minshew, as you called it. He managed the game. He didn't turn the ball over. He made the throws that were there. He wasn't trying to force anything into tight coverage for the most part. Took a lot of the checkdowns. I think he used Dallas Goddard maybe the way that a lot of us would wish, he'd be used when Jalen Hurts is in the game. I mean, he went to Goddard early and often. Goddard has his career, high for receiving yards in a game. And I think that's what you got to do. When you go in there as a guy like Gardner Minshew, you're not trying to win the game. You're trying to make sure your team has the opportunity to win the game. And you do that by not turning the ball over, running the game plan, taking what's given to you. And I thought he did a nice job of that. But what my favorite part of this is for 2 weeks, we don't have to get into the debate of Gardner Minshew's better than Jalen Hurts. What do we do in 2 weeks? No, we know what we do in 2 weeks. Thank you, Gardner, for your win. We're going to go back to Jalen if he's healthy, for the Washington game in 2 weeks.
Amen. What about you, Ty? What was your take on Minshew's performance?
He's a really nice backup quarterback. I was getting, and God, Shane, how old are you?
31.
Rob?
37.
All right, cool. I know how old you are, Chris. I don't need to ask.
You see me play ball, so absolutely.
I had tiny Ty memories of Coy Detmer today.
No,
right? Yeah.
Like game manager, a little funky kind of guy with a mustache or a beard.
Dances.
And I just was sitting there watching. I was like, holy hell. And I even called my dad. I'm like, who does this guy remind you of right now? And he was like, I don't know. I said, Coy Detmer, and he just lost it. But I thought he did a great job for us today as a backup. That's what he is. He's a backup quarterback that has that type of attitude that can come in and spark a team. I think the guys probably love him. He's a little quirky. He's a little different. And Rob's right. He's not, there's no conversation here in 2 weeks. He came in, did what he needed to do against a bottom third team in the NFL. And it was kind of fun to watch, especially the first half. And then in the second half, they did exactly what they should have done. They ran the rock and bled the clock, period.
You guys know the story about how he ended up at Washington State. Have you heard that?
No.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Minshew was going to Alabama. And he knew he was going and he was going to be like the third string quarterback, but he always thought he was going to be a coach. So he just wanted to go learn from Saban until Mike Leach recruited him on a recruiting visit. And he asked him, he said, you just have to ask yourself, do you want to go be the third string quarterback at Alabama or do you want to lead the nation in passing? and he committed to Washington State the next day. And he did lead the nation in passing.
That's so
That's awesome.
funny. That's really, really cool. But it's so funny you mentioned Coy, because I was thinking that of course the number 10, you think of Coy.
Yeah.
When you see
Well,
number
yeah,
10.
I mean that definitely helped, spur it. But
And I remember vividly, I was like in the second quarter, and my wife and I were watching this game. I was number 10 my whole life in baseball. So I'm like, should I get a Minshew jersey? So I'm a softie with number 10s for, you know how it is. But anyway, where do we want to go from here, Shane? I'm going to throw it to you. What do you want to talk about here?
I don't know. I'm going to talk about Minshew for a second because I didn't, other than his recruiting story. I thought he played really well today. I think that's the best passing performance an Eagles quarterback has turned in since the Chiefs game in Week 4. Like, they didn't ask him to do a lot in the second half. They ran the ball. Maybe they got too conservative in the second half. It doesn't matter. It worked out. But Minshew he made all the throws in the first half, and he looked good doing it. He's got really good pocket awareness. That's the biggest thing in his game. He's got good pocket awareness. He's good at stepping up into pockets, finding guys. I mean, his completion percentage over expectation was plus 21.2, and his EPA was plus 0.5 per drop back. Like, he played a really good game, and I don't know that. I mean, I don't even know that he was a game manager until the second half. He played the first half, and he played really well. So, I mean, maybe it's managed game that gets a negative rap a lot of times, but he drove the ball down the field. I don't think he wasn't just distributing the ball to great passing targets and letting a run game carry him down like we usually use the term game manager. I mean, that's what people threw around with Mac Jones at Alabama. He had all these great players. That wasn't what happened. In the first half, Minshew drove the offense, and I thought he did a really good job doing it. And then in the second half, we got run heavy. The Jets only had the ball for 3 plays in the third quarter. Like, if you want to cool down an offense and your defense can't do it, that's one way to start, taking offense out of rhythm.
All right, I'm going to just lead us off. Let's talk about Miles Sanders, because he had by far the best game of this season. He had 24 carries today, by far the most this season, 120 yards on the ground, by far the most this season. He had 3 catches for 22 yards. And most notably, there was a big play there in the second half where he got a huge run. He got a nice lane, and you saw him hold on to the ball. When have we seen Miles Sanders, dumb football and Miles Sanders are synonymous in the second halves this season. And I'd love to see him wrap that ball up and fall on the ground and, do what he needs to get done. So Miles Sanders, I know he got hurt here. I don't know what the injury is, if anybody knows it right now. I know he was out the rest of the game. It did not look good. As soon as he hit the ground, he was clearly in pain. But Miles Sanders, I got to give it to him because I've ripped him a lot. I'm not the biggest Penn State fan out there. I'm biased. I will fully admit that. But he definitely has had his struggles here during major game management situations for sure. But I thought he had a terrific game today, and I'm going to give him tons of props. I'm going to throw it to you, Rob. What was your kind of general impressions on Miles Sanders, who showed up today?
I mean, he ran hard. He held on to the ball. There were no dumb plays. I think the concern here is he got hurt again. You don't know how serious it is, but look, everybody wanted to call the quarterback in Indianapolis, who we're not allowed to say his name anymore, I guess, injury prone. Well, Miles Sanders is more injury prone. The guy, he gets hurt every time. He got hurt the last game, right?
Yeah.
He got hurt at the end of the last game. So, I mean, what it tells me is don't expect Miles Sanders to be here much longer. From a future standpoint, the Eagles are going to have to look to get a running back in here to be the lead back, because I think Gainwell is what he is, but he's not a lead back. But for what it was, I just hope he's all right, because he does provide, a little bit of assurance with the way he gets 4 or 5 yards a carry. I mean, he's the first 100-yard rusher in 15 games for the Eagles.
Mm.
So I think from that standpoint, but I also have now watched a bunch of running backs this year run really well. And the only reason for that is because this offensive line, even with Brandon Brooks out, can argue that they're one of the best in football. I mean, they really can argue that. They are tremendous. They're road graders. Landon Dickerson has gone above and beyond what any of us expected in his rookie year. And when you watch him and Mailata line up together like that, it's scary on the left side of that line. I mean, it's downright scary. At one point, it was those two, and then Nate Herbig pulled up behind him. It had to be like 1,000 pounds of man. Like it was just gargantuan. It was huge. So I give credit to the offensive line. But hey, I just hope Miles is healthy for his sake, his career, because we just can't see him stay on the field.
Yeah. What about you, Ty? What was your take on Miles Sanders today?
My take on Miles Sanders is you just don't know which Miles Sanders is coming to the field.
Yeah.
So, like, he's got the ability to have a game like this today, run between the tackles, run outside the tackles, catch that crossing pattern early in the game that was a big first down play for him when the game was still kind of tight. He has that ability, but, durability issues. And then sometimes he shows up and just doesn't look like that guy. Drops passes, doesn't hit the hole hard. His patience isn't in the same coordination as it normally is when he runs the ball. I'd just like to see some consistency out of him. And that would be a big plus. But I'm with Rob. I don't think he's here for the long haul. I don't think he stays on the field enough, and they need to find a lead back. And that I don't think it's going to be him for I don't think it's going to be him for the long haul.
Here's that big play from Miles Sanders. Shane, what's your take?
I think Miles Sanders' performance today is going to get overrated because he went over 100 yards. I mean, that run right there, that big run, which was, I think that was his last play of the game. It hurts the ankle. Before that run, he had 3.6 yards per carry against a run defense, giving up 4.5 yards a carry. And so I don't think he was bad. To me, Miles Sanders is just a guy. He's always just been a guy. And I don't see a difference between Miles Sanders on the field versus Jordan Howard or Boston Scott in terms of how this rushing game works. I mean, there's schematically different things when it's Howard back there, but just in terms of production, I always think people overrate Miles Sanders. And I think people are going to be real high on him for the 120-yard game. I didn't think it was anything special today. I thought he was fine. Didn't fumble, which was good. But I loved, a couple of weeks ago when he ran out of bounds, and I had a whole bunch of people telling me on Twitter, you can't expect a guy to go down there and understand that and all that, blah, blah, blah. Well, I love that Kenny Gainwell, a rookie who has like 50 carries this season, slid down after he got a first down instead of going.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was great.
All right, let's go on to Dallas Goddard. Dallas Goddard had a huge game today, especially in that first quarter. It was absolutely massive, getting 2 touchdowns. I think his first 2-touchdown game of his Eagles career. You look at his receptions, tied his season high with 6. He had just 6 targets, 2 touchdowns, of course. 105 yards is the most he's had this season. Always good to see. Always good to see for the Eagles, especially when they start targeting that intermediate range. I go back to that, third down play when it wasn't to Goddard, but it was to Quez Watkins when he Minshew rolled left and just snapped the wrist and got him right in the hands in that intermediate range. That's been a weakness of this Eagles team. So good to see Goddard and Minshew be kind of on the same page here. So Goddard needs a little loving tonight. What about you, Rob? What was your kind of take on Goddard, and what does that mean for the rest of the season?
Wow, it's huge. I mean, I think that we know that Goddard has this in him. We know that Goddard can be a premier tight end tight end 1 in this league. And I think what you saw today was if you trust the guy, if you give him targets, he's going to make plays for you. One thing, like we all love Zach Ertz, and I'm not comparing the two, but I always felt like Zach Ertz caught the ball, got hit, and went down. Goddard broke some tackles today. He ran with the football. His yak had to be up there a little bit. I think there's nothing bad with Dallas Goddard having a good game. So all in all, I think it's good.
Man, there's shades of coy right there, Ty, where he's like throwing on his back foot right there. I can't get that out of my head, man. You got me. You totally mind-fucked me in this post-game show. That's coy. That's coy. Ty, what was your take on Goddard's today? Goddard.
It's just to go on your part there. Coy Detmer to Chad Lewis, man.
Exactly.
I mean, that's more Goddard based, right? Like Goddard's more of a Selleck, Chad Lewis, bang around a little bit type of tight end, and Ertz was more of a Ferrari tight end, if there is such a thing, where I'm gonna get open, I'm gonna catch the ball, and I'm gonna get my catches. But I love seeing them, involve the tight end, and usually in a game like this against a defense that just isn't great, You look for a player to step up, and he did. And they didn't bracket him as much as he was last week. Last week they really they concentrated on slowing him down and Devonta Smith. And today, they still really held Devonta Smith in check, but they didn't do the same to Goddard, and he went off.
What about you, Shane?
Yeah, Goddard was tremendous in the first half. Got away from him some in the second half. Again, I think it was just more of a product of being so conservative. But best game of his career, first multi-touchdown game, only a second game over 100 yards. So he had a high in receiving yards as well. So great performance from Goddard. It was strange to me that I thought maybe this would be like a big Quez Watkins game, because that's a guy that Gardner Minshew's probably taken more reps with on the second team throughout the season. And then you watch the game and Devonta Smith's not that involved, but he's feeding the ball to Dallas Goddard, which is not a guy I expected him to have a ton of reps and chemistry with too. But I was surprised a little bit. I thought you might see a big Quez Watkins game just because of that. But yeah, I mean, and I think you're going to have to see that. I think teams are going to continue to give a lot of extra attention to Devonta Smith, and it's going to be on Dallas Goddard. He's going to have to win those matchups and be a go-to guy for the Eagles down the stretch.
Philly G says Lions won their first game versus the Minnesota Vikings. The Eagles now have a playoff spot. Go Eagles, dilly dilly. Quentin Moore says, go Lions, baby.
The Lions won on a touchdown pass on the last play of the game. On Chalk Talk on Thursday afternoon, Mark and I both called a win for the Lions, and I said it would come on a score on the last play of the game. So you're not watching Chalk Talk. What are you doing?
you got to get that clip and post the shit out of that, man. I will retweet that to hell and back. Philly G says Eagles did a great job today. Alexander says he didn't have many plays this game, but do you think I should get a Devontae? Rob holds up a Devontae Smith jersey.
All in the preseason. He's here for the long haul.
Yeah, no. If there's anything we've learned this year is we don't know anything about Jalen Hurts yet. I think that's, I'm definitely leaning out against Jalen Hurts. Jordan Mailata is amazing, and then Devontae Smith is going to be legit. There's no question about that. So yes, I would say that is a pretty safe bet. We should keep Smith 100%. I'm not going down this road.
I am.
I was waiting.
Oh my God, Dibes. I want you. I want Chris Malley. I want all you guys who sat on here for show after show leading up to that draft telling me this guy was going to be perfect here. What are you doing in that kick return when you let that ball go like that? What in the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's kind of been like, I look back at this season and it's been, always like two bad, one good for the most part. And there's just no defending him anymore at all. That's kind of been my take. Or last week is like not even worth talking about. Like the proof is on the tape. Like you just watch the game and he shouldn't be on the field. Yeah. That's how obvious it is. We didn't do grades of Minshew. I want to do a real quick run through grades. Shane, what was your grade of Gardner Minshew in this game?
I'm going to give him an A. He completed 90% of his passes. He never put the ball in danger, and the Eagles' offense was on fire in the first half. I don't think you can ask for anything more. I thought he played really well.
What about you, Ty?
I got to say something about Reagor quick. Sorry. He is literally a worse version of Nelly Aguilar. I mean, he's absolutely worse. And I didn't think that could be a possibility when Aguilar went into his doldrums. Now, I mean, he's doing okay in New England. I think I haven't paid much attention to him, but it's as much mental for that guy now, I think, as it is physical. I think he's actually thinking to himself during plays, which is awful. You need to react, not think. It's bad. My grade for Minshew, though, is definitely an A. He did everything he needed to do today. Didn't turn the ball over, which is the biggest key for a backup, and came in and got them through a week without their starter. Hey,
Rob?
Yeah, I think A's the way to do it for everything that everybody's saying. He did what you needed him to do. He didn't turn the ball over. He didn't make too many plays that cost you anything. And then, Nick Sirianni did a nice job of protecting him. Some people might have been upset with the conservativeness, but, hey, it worked for him today. So I don't really think you could be that upset right now. But I think Minshew did exactly what you wanted from a backup quarterback, Philadelphia, a backup quarterback, not your answer going forward, a backup quarterback,
Yeah.
and he gets an A for that.
Yeah, I love the way he got Goddard involved in this game. That is such a huge key for this offense, which has been god-awful lately. So I'm really happy to see that. You kind of like coming into this game, you wanted to know, what would Nick Sirianni's offense look like? You're clearly going to be running less behind Gardner Minshew with no Jalen Hurts. You look at this Eagles offense, they had 13 passing first downs in this game, which I love to see. You look at how they, executed on third down, 6 of 13. It was overall very, very good. I'll go an A- on my end. I'm very happy what I saw from Minshew, especially rolling left, nailing Quez Watkins on that play on a crossing route in that third down. Like that is something, that intermediate area of the field. If we're starting to talk about, getting Goddard involved downfield a little bit, I'm really happy about Minshew's performance and what it means moving forward. Not talking about 2022, but I'm talking about this year. But we have a comment here by Philly G says, what do y'all think about the Lions winning their first game and the Eagles got a playoff spot? And I think that's got to be the next conversation. The next conversation, I'm going to share my screen here. Let's look at where the Eagles stand now. The Eagles are at 6-7 behind the San Francisco 49ers and the Rams. They're right there. And you look at kind of the remaining schedule. They've got Washington, New York, back-to-back at home, at Washington, and then to finish out the Dallas Cowboys, 6-7. Like, could we see a playoff run by the Eagles here, given what we know so far? So I'm going to throw it to you, Rob. Is it possible the Eagles could be playing a playoff game? And I'm going to hold a caveat. Is that in their best interest?
Well, yeah, it is. I don't want to hear that at this point they've won too many games to say, oh, we need a better draft. No. Making the playoffs with a young team, a young coach, is always in your better interest, in my opinion. I'm not, this isn't the NBA. All right, tanking does you no good. Secondly, is it possible? Sure. But what you're going to have to understand is you have to at least take 1 of 2 against Washington. You have to get your revenge on the New York Giants. And that Dallas game could loom large. Now, they have 6 wins right now. I think 9 gets you in the NFC. I do think if they go 3-1, 9 will get you in. Can 8 get you in? Maybe, because the league is so mediocre. But sure, if you want to know if it's possible, I think it's very possible. And honestly, I think it's in the Eagles' hand at this point. I think they control their own destiny. It's one of those win the games you need to win, and you'll be in the playoffs.
We have some anti-Jalen Hurts comments. Jalen Hurts is not starting caliber. Minshew is the better quarterback and has been. Hurts is a worse version of Marcus Mariota. And then they're 2.0. All right. The quarterback controversy in Philadelphia is back. It's only been a couple years. Ty, what's your take? Could you see the Eagles getting to the playoffs, and is that what should happen?
I have been very vocal on this post-game show about me not wanting them to make the playoffs. I'm kind of turning my tone at this point. I agree with Rob. They've got too many wins at this point that your draft pick's no longer really what you're looking at. Playoff experience is paramount in this league. Getting it is extremely important. Do I think they have a chance in hell? No. I think they'll get blown out of the water wherever they have to go in that first playoff game.
Yeah.
But the experience itself, just playing an extra game, right? So they're already playing one more game than they have in years past. Getting a young team to know what it's like to play 18 games is a start. And that's part of building, I think, in the NFL. So at this point, if they can make the playoffs, that's a huge bonus for them. I do worry that they don't end up making it at this point. I don't like the way they played the Giants last week. I certainly think that Washington is not a bad team. Well, they're a bad team, but they're not as bad as the Jets and some of the teams the Eagles have padded their record with. So my take is, yeah, I'd like to see them make playoffs. Do I think they will? No, I don't. I think they come up a little short.
Philly G says Hurts is a good quarterback. He ran for 3 touchdowns. First quarterback this season that ran for 3 touchdowns. YouTube GM says Hurts is a stat patter. That is 100% fact. You cannot argue that. Quentin Moore agrees with you guys, saying playoff experience is far too valuable to not play for. And then YouTube GM says, if you think Hurts is the future, then you don't know football.
I don't know if one of us on here has said that Hurts is the future, but I can tell you one thing: Gardner Minshew is not. I can tell you that. So
I'm ready for this, Shane. Bring the heat, man. What's your take?
What about Hurts and Minshew, or about the playoffs?
The playoffs, and is it in the best interest of the Eagles with Nick Sirianni, Jonathan Gannon, Gardner Minshew, Jalen Hurts, you name it, and the Eagles young skill players? What's your take?
All right. Well, I have no Sixers takes, so I'll pass that one. But Mark and I broke this down on Chalk Talk. We're like 95% sure second place in the NFC East will make the playoffs, especially now that the Vikings lose. That really helps. So you're looking at, theoretically the Giants are in that race. They're not really. The Giants stink. And so I think it comes down to Washington and the Eagles. Washington is beating the Raiders right now. They have the Cowboys next week while the Eagles are on a bye. As long as Washington wins one of those two games, we'll have identical records and identical opponents for the last 4 weeks. And so it really comes down to those Washington games, a team that the Eagles have traditionally struggled against, a team that seems to be coming on lately. And so, right now, I'm saying that the Washington football team probably takes that last wild card spot. They probably take second place in the NFC East. But I think it ultimately comes down. It's in the Eagles' hands. They got to go they control their destiny. If they go beat Washington, they're going to go. And the added thing is that the football team is going to play Dallas in week 16. The Eagles play them in week 18 when they might rest starters. So that sways it in your opinion as well, or in your favor as well. As for do they want to make the playoffs? Of course. That playoff experience is valuable, especially for your young guys on your roster. You want to get Nick Sirianni in a playoff environment. I mean, he's been there as an assistant coach. You want to see him there as a head coach. You want to see Jonathan Gannon calling defense. You want to see Landon Dickerson. You want to see a bunch of these guys in a playoff atmosphere. And so to me, that dramatically outweighs, 5 or 6, 7 spots in the draft.
Can I have to talk to Mr. YouTube GM here because they are literally contradicting themselves. Minshew was a legitimate solid starter on the worst team in the league. How are you legitimate when your team stinks? Okay. I know it wasn't all him that stunk, but he did nothing to make them better. They were a bad team. He is a backup quarterback at best in this league. He will never be anything more than that. You guys said it. Who's Gardner Minshew? He's probably Coy Detmer in this league. He's probably Coy Detmer in this league. Now I'm done.
Let's point out there's nothing wrong with that.
No, none at all.
You know what? Jalen Hurts may be a backup quarterback too.
I agree. I think Jalen Hurts could be.
Exactly. And that's what drives me nuts about these people who are watching us and saying that Hurts isn't the guy. We're not saying he's the guy either, but right now you've hitched your wagon to him for the season, right? You're not going to make the change now. He hasn't done anything to make that change. Go ahead, Shane.
To Rob. In his first year as a starter, Gardner Minshew had a higher completion percentage, higher touchdown percentage, lower interception percentage, higher yards per attempt, and higher QB rating than Trevor Lawrence with the Jags.
Hey,
just saying. I'm not saying. I just looked that up. I just looked that up while you were talking, just because I was curious. I'm not saying he's better than Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
But I did think that was really funny.
This is absolutely correct. He's a good game manager. Yep. But if you're a good game manager, that does not mean you're a legitimate starter in the National Football League.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins, like Kirk Cousins is a game manager, but the fact is Kirk Cousins has never won anything because he's not that great of a starter. I don't know. I got to go see Santa with my kids, so I'm done this conversation.
Okay. I have 2 minutes. I got 60 seconds. I'm talking about Hurts and Minshew, and then you can steal it back from me. You can mute me in 60 seconds. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Is Gardner Minshew a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts? Yes, he's a better passer than Jalen Hurts. Should you play Gardner Minshew the rest of the season? No. Why? Because you know what he is. He is like somewhere between like the 25th and 32nd best quarterback in the NFL. There's intrigue that maybe Jalen Hurts can be more. Do I think he's more? No. Do you play him the rest of the year and see? Yes. All right, I'm done.
Okay.
That's perfectly stated.
Let's go into player of the game. Rob, who's your player of the game?
Oh man, I like it was a weird game. I'll go Miles Sanders because he broke 100, and the Eagles haven't had a running back break 150 games. I know what Shane's saying, and he's right. It wasn't the flashiest 100 yards, but they were able to control the clock on his back with the running game. But honestly, it's like every week I feel like I could just say I'm giving it to the offensive line. I mean, that's just how good they've been. But just to be different, I'll give it to Miles Sanders and go from there.
What about you, Ty?
I mean, the obvious choice is Dallas Goddard. I mean, Goddard had a breakout day today and made his presence felt. So I'll go with Dallas Goddard.
Shane?
All right, I also have an award I want to give after this, but I'm going to give my game MVP to Gardner Minshew. Thought he played a great game, especially, coming in as the backup, maybe not having worked a lot of reps with a lot of the first teamers. So thought he played really well today. Also, I want to give an award, the participation award to Jack Driscoll, to Nate Herbig for snapping that ball over Gardner Minshew's head just so Siposs could get on the field for a play today. So just everybody wanted to be involved today. He wanted to make sure Siposs got a punt in. So
there you go.
Shout out to him.
Quentin Moore says Minshew's mustache gets the player of the game. That's so good. That's so good. I'm going to go, you guys all nailed it. I'm going to go off the cusp here. I'm going to go in the left field. I'm going to say Josh Sweat. Gets my player of the game. He had a sack and a half here. And what was possibly one of the best sacks of the entire season. Dude just completely leveled Zach Wilson on this one. Down.
I'm surprised he didn't get a penalty on that one.
I know. That was a legit sack, man. He lifted him up and landed right on top of him. Just hit him right there in the chest. I just
want to point out he got that sack because of Javon Hargrave. That was a great job collapsing that pocket by Hargrave.
Well said. And when you like look at and when you project the Eagles moving forward, the Eagles sack percentage among the worst in the NFL. They have really struggled getting to the quarterback. You saw Javon Hargrave get a sack today. Another great game today. Hopefully that is something the Eagles can get rolling. Because if we're talking playoffs, the Eagles defensive line has to get better from where they have been. So I really want to see Josh Sweat because he just got paid, 3 years, $40 million. So he needs to earn that contract. We all thought he was going to be this breakout star this season. I want to see Josh Sweat kind of get in that, get a little momentum and get to the quarterback. Yeah, Tom.
Is this the first time that Dibes has given the player of the game to a player instead of a coach?
Yes, I think it is.
Yes.
Where I was shaking my head, not to your comments, but to this comment that you put up onto the screen. I'm just at a loss anytime anyone compares fucking Tom Brady to anybody. All right, even early in his career when they were a run-based offense.
Oh my God!
Early in his career by them winning the Super Bowl, is that what you mean? When they won the Super Bowl?
Did he literally take over at once?
I don't know. Listen. You can find me at Philly _man. I think I have to go on this though. I don't think I can hang in to the end of the show.
Yeah, it's pretty epic, especially when we get this comment. Rieger is a god.
I hope his ETF picks are better than his football takes.
Probably not. No.
All right. Let's wrap it up, guys. We crushed this. We're at 39 minutes. I'm going to throw it to Shane. Where can we find you, man? Let's wrap it up.
Find me on Twitter at @halfandhalf_TPL. Live tweet clips of the games while we're going. And shout out to the guy, I can't remember his name now, but that showed me a site that I can rewind on now. I haven't had the option to do that. So in the past, if I missed a play, it was just gone. So follow me on Twitter. Check out my twice-a-week podcast, Chalk Talk, reviewing on Tuesdays, previewing on Thursday or Fridays. It's where you get tidbits like the Lions are about to win their first game.
On the last play of the game.
On the last play.
Gold. Straight gold. Todd.
You can find me at TyBook3 or at PTP2021. Tomorrow, 3 o'clock, Pull the Pin podcast. We review the Hero World Challenge. We talk about Tiger. We talk about golf video games. And we're also going to talk about some other awesome golf-related material. So check us out 3 o'clock at the Painted Lines YouTube channel tomorrow.
Rob.
At Philly_madness, party on Brawl whenever we can get episodes when it's not crazy weeks. And then obviously my Facebook page. I got to go back and see who was closest, who's getting a free meal from me tomorrow night. It'll be interesting to see.
Love it, love it, love it. I am Dives, Mr. Crockpot. I have so much content going down right now. It is absurd. Obviously, Gardner Minshew highlight reel literally going down as soon as I wrap this up here. Devontae Smith, Dallas Goddard highlight reel is going down. It is officially Spider-Man week, especially in the next 2 weeks. I have literally shows lined up all about Spider-Man until we see it on Thursday, the 16th. Spider-Man trivia, Amazing Spider-Man 2 reviews on Tuesday night, and Homecoming and Far From Home reviews coming in the near future. Anyway, if you love that nerd shit, I do. That is going down. And as well, NFL draft. I finally have my top 10 prospect rankings for the NFL draft. It has been a shit show with that because with the Eagles and everything over the last few weeks, everything's getting juggled. A lot has changed over the last few weeks with where the Eagles are seated here. And I have a Matt Corral video scouting report about to go down, who I've been very impressed with. I'm nearly done with it. I hope to get it done tonight. So he's a very interesting quarterback prospect, arguably the top in this draft. So thank you, everyone, for watching. Please be sure to smash that subscribe button. For Ty, for Rob, for Shane,